Welcome everybody to this week's Cooking with Evie, and welcome to my kitchen. Today we are going to be making a snack, not a overly sweet snack, but a wonderful snack that's great for cutting sugar cravings. And I know a lot of you are joining my 10-day sugar cleanse. This is day 2, so if anybody's interested in joining, please just PM me or leave a little note in the comment box. I'd be happy to add you to the list. But we've been talking about ways to cut back on added sugars in our diet and ways to cut sugar cravings. This snack is a great way to do it. And what's great about this is not only can it be a snack, but it can also serve as a breakfast for you or even a light meal. I'm going to show you what they look like, because I did make some in advance. And the great thing about these is you can make them a few different ways, and I'll tell you how and what the differences are. But before we get started, I want to introduce you to a friend that I have here. I have to tell you that this week I am celebrating a big birthday. And if you say 55, I will love you forever. But a good friend of mine, she gifted me this wonderful, I don't know if you can read the tag on it, Chef Evey. So not only that, but she cut the hair to look just like mine. I don't know, does it look like mine? Anyway, she's going to be listening in to our cooking class today. I'm going to put her back here so she can listen. But thank you, big thank you for that gift. And I'm thrilled now to have an action figure. So to get back to our cooking though, what we would like to do today is start out with, and what's great about this recipe is it's not that many ingredients, and it can be made really quickly. What I like to do is I like to make these up ahead of time and put them in the freezer so that in those times where I'm just craving a little bit something, sweet, they're right there for me. And I will tell you, before I started changing my diet and getting back to wholesome foods and away from processed foods and away from those added sugars, my sugar cravings were intense. Mid-afternoon, I'd be grabbing for something sweet. Now, I still admit every now and then that might happen, but far less than it used to. So just to let you know and to have you thinking about that for yourselves. So I'm looking around. I had my apple cutter. Give me 1 second. I think I misplaced it. Here we go. So I have this handy dandy little cutter here that I love using because it makes quick work of cutting up an apple. And what I like to do is place my apple upside down because it makes my surface a lot more level. I don't know what they did, but my screen here has been readjusted, so it's very difficult to see my cutting surface. But here we go. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to use my food processor. What's nice about this recipe, as I said, is I can just toss everything in and make it up real quickly. And that's exactly what I'm going to do. So I'm going to add my apples. The next ingredient, now apples, great for cutting cravings. Why? Because it has sweetness of its own, but that sweetness, the sugars that it contains are packaged in fiber, soluble and insoluble fibers. When we eat foods with fiber, the fiber slows down the absorption of that sugar. So one of the things that I encourage my clients to do is make sure they're getting enough fiber in their diet. One way we did that was with our apple. Another way we're going to do that is by adding some walnuts. Again, walnuts, another great ingredient in this recipe because it also contains healthy fats. And fats Yes, they do have more calories, but they also stay with us longer and they're also satisfying. So if we're looking for something that's going to stay with us and feel satisfying, healthy fats are good to have. So I added in a half cup of walnuts to that. The next thing I'm going to do is I'm going to add in a couple of Deglet dates. Dates are naturally sweet, but again, they have vitamins, minerals, and fiber, right? We're always looking for that. So I added in 2 Deglet dates, and then I'm going to add in a little bit of seasoning. I always love cinnamon with my apples. So I'm going to add in 1 teaspoon of cinnamon. And along with that, I don't have it in the recipe, but I'm going to add just a little pinch of salt. Why am I adding salt? Because salt is a way to enhance flavors. So I don't want something that tastes salty, but if you add just a little bit of the salt, it will enhance all the other flavors in a recipe. So I always like to put in a little pinch of that. Now, in order to have our batter stick together, I'm going to use flaxseed. Again, flaxseed fiber. It also has that very healthy omega-3 fatty acid. Remember I said healthy fats? It kind of serves like egg white when you're making a dish. And that's kind of viscosity that when it gets wet, it will become. And it will also help bind together all the other ingredients. I'm going to put in 2 tablespoons of ground flaxseed. I like to grind my flaxseed up fairly close to when I'm going to use it because that omega-3 fatty acid, as good as it is for us, is very volatile. And once you grind up the flax seeds, it tends to start degrading. So I like to do that. And then I store it in a jar in the refrigerator. I store all of my nuts and seeds in the refrigerator because those oils are very volatile. Hello, Carol Ann. How are you? Absolutely. Carol Ann was saying she wants to be on the email list. I am very happy to get that out to you. My newsletter, I always put in what I'm doing in the upcoming month. So that's another way to stay on track with what I'm doing. But thanks for asking. That's great. Okay, so I added in my flaxseed. Now I'm going to add a little bit of coconut flakes. This just adds a little bit of sweetness, even though it is unsweetened. I'm going to add in 2 tablespoons of the coconut flakes. And for me, that gives a little bit of texture, which I like, and a little bit of natural sweetness without adding, again, sugar. So you notice that I'm not adding processed sugars to this, but I am adding in foods that are naturally sweet. And they're bound up in fiber, and the sugar is delivered in a very natural way, the way Mother Nature has evolved with us to give us the nutrients that we need. Because we do need some sugar because that's energy, and we want energy throughout the day. We just don't want it all at once. We want it to be delivered slowly throughout the day and consistently so we don't have any sugar crashes. So I just added in my coconut flakes, and now I'm going to add in 2 tablespoons of my old-fashioned oats. I like to get organic whenever I can, and this is in Wild Harvest brand. And I'm going to add in 2 tablespoons. I like to get the old-fashioned because the steel cut doesn't, it stays too crunchy for this dish because we're not cooking it. So I like to do the rolled oats. And the last ingredient that I'm going to add is either raisins or cacao nibs. But I'm not going to add that quite yet. What I'm going to do is just mix this really well now until combined. I'm just using small section of my food processor. Holds about 3 cups, which is just plenty for this dish. So I give this cooking class every Tuesday. I try to pick recipes that are quick and easy to make. They usually take about 20 minutes to a half hour. I sometimes cheat a little bit and have things pre-made, pre-baked, so you can see what they look like. But the idea is to get you to feel comfortable in the kitchen, comfortable using a food processor or a apple slicer, if you've never used that before, but not to make it too complicated, and to use natural whole food ingredients so that we're feeding our body healthy foods. So I'm going to, let me show you what the batter, because this is a batter, looks like at this point, and the consistency of it. Can you see that? All right. I'm going to empty this out. Now, typically, if I was just doing this on my own, I would probably just leave it in the container like this and scoop it out. But so you can see what I'm doing, I'm going to empty it out into a bowl here. And that'll give you a better idea too. It's very sticky, but a good consistency. Now, I like to pick out juicy apples. This is a Honeycrisp. Gala would be great for this as well. Fuji is also a good option. But I like to start with a sweet apple so I don't need to add any additional sugars to it. So, just give my hands a quick wash here. Now, here's where the fun part comes in. So I now have my batter. I like to roll these into little balls that are ready to eat. So I'm going to take a teaspoon and just roll it into, you know, they're not even 1 inch wide. They're maybe like 3/4 inches. And I like them small like this, which is why I call them apple oatmeal poppers, because you can just pop them into your mouth. The batter is still a little bit soft, but as you can see, I'll hold up the plate for you to look at. As you can see, they hold their shape really well. So what I like to do is just let these sit, firm up in the refrigerator, and then they're ready for snacking. But before I do this, I'm going to put them back in because I forgot to add in my raisins. Now, oh, and I said raisins, but I'm going to add in cacao nibs. Why? Again, a lot of good nutrition that comes with cacao. Cacao is nothing more than the raw ingredients of chocolate. So chocolate is actually good for us. It's the added sugars and the fats that are added to it that tend to make the dish less healthy for, or make the candy less healthy for us. Cacao nibs themselves, they are soft, but not sweet. A little bit bitter. I actually like that in here. There's enough sugar that balances out with the cacao nibs. But what's nice about cacao nibs is it adds in antioxidants that are so important for our health, and fiber, again, that fiber, magnesium. Magnesium is actually a nutrient that is found in the soil, but the soil is getting depleted of magnesium because we are not using organic methods. And if the magnesium's not in the soil, then the plants that grow in the soil do not take up as much of that magnesium. Magnesium is great as a mood balancer. It's used for muscles. It's used in so many different processes of the body. It's one of those nutrients that I do recommend to my clients. So I added in some cacao nibs. You can add in, if you want something a little bit sweeter, you could add in those raisins. You could add a little bit of both. I just put in a tablespoon of the cacao nibs. What I like about that too is it adds like a little bit of crunch. So let me again make those little balls. All right. And what I mentioned, you can make them into this shape, or if you would like, you can just do like a thumbprint cookie and flatten them and have them that way. Once they're in the refrigerator, they'll firm up a little bit. The flattened ones, though, I found, if you would like more of a cookie texture, flavor, you can bake these at 375 degrees for 20. If they're flat like this, less time. But if they're round balls like this, about 25 minutes. And what happens then is it gets more cake-like. And you get more of like a cakey slash cookie. But if you, and you know what, if you're in a hurry and if you do use the microwave, they also can be put into the microwave for about a minute. And then they come out more cake-like. They do tend to lose some of that crisp apple flavor, which is actually not bad. It's actually kind of nice. They're more of like a oatmeal cookie in that respect. But I'm going to roll up a couple more of these, and then I'll show you the difference between the raw cookie dough, which is what I'm making now, and the baked, because I baked a few of them yesterday. And you'll find it will stay cakey. It will have a soft texture, but will keep long period of time, especially if you stick them into the freezer. So let me show you. And by the way, this will make about a dozen to 15 of these little poppers, depending on how big you make them, which is great. If you're looking to snack on them, like 3 of them is very satisfying. So I have from the oven here some of the baked ones that I want to show you. And I can put them on these plates. Now here are some of the poppers that I actually had in the freezer. So you can see they're keeping their consistency nicely. They're great. You know, even for like as a cold snack, you can eat them, and it slows you down too because they're harder to eat. Here are the balls that we just made. All right, and let me then get a plate to show you what the baked ones look like. So these I made into little cookie shapes. I would think you could probably put those in for about 20 minutes and they would have been fine. But here we have our round poppers. And some of these have raisins in it in the middle here. This one was the one with the cacao nibs in it. So we have a whole selection here. Oh, and if you're wondering, what I like to do is I like to just put a Silpat, so a silicone mat underneath, and it's easy cleanup that way too, so even quicker that way. So here you have it. These are wonderfully delightful. I'm going to snitch one. Show you the consistency of it. Yum, yum, yum. With the raisins in it, it's very different than with the cacao nibs. The other thing that's nice about this is, say you don't like walnuts. I've made these with almonds before. I just soak the almonds ahead of time. Fabulous. If you don't have flaxseed, you can use chia seeds. Chia seeds do the same thing, and they have those same omega-3s and fiber to them. So a lot of versatility with this. Your imagination is the limit. I look forward to hearing what your creative minds come up with and what you think about them. So this is just yet another way of having on hand a healthy snack. So, what we have found, as a health coach, I'm constantly coaching my clients to have healthy foods on hand for when they feel like a snack or when they need some sustenance. This is a great way to do it, being prepared and prepping ahead of time. So, if you like the idea of having something like this on hand, I am actually starting up a 1 week program, November 29th. On that day, all the participants will receive a menu, recipes, a prepping guide, and a shopping list. We'll all have our ingredients ready on Sunday, and we're going to prep, and I'll do that with you just like here, prep with you for the week. All right? So if you're looking for getting that sugar out of your diet, this is one of the ways to do it. So I'm hoping you'll join me. If you're interested, just PM me. I will be posting information on the program, but I can send you something directly as well. So let me see. Hi, Robin. How are you? So good to see you. So Robin says, I don't have a food processor. Do you think it would work in a high-speed blender instead? Yes, it would definitely work in a high-speed blender. It's a little trickier just because the blender is a faster speed, and you kind of got to get your spatula in there to mix things up. But definitely, I would hand mix then the cacao nibs if you're adding them in at the end, or the raisins to mix them in at the end as well, just the way we did here, because you don't want to pulverize them, unless you don't like the chewiness of having them, the texture of it. So, I hope you enjoyed today's cooking class. I hope you join me for the Prep It and Forget It for a whole week of low sugar meals. Just as I said, PM me, and I will get some information out to you as soon as possible. All right, in the meantime, stay well, stay healthy until we can be out and about again. Looking forward to having you in my kitchen again next week. All right, take care, everybody. Eat well. And by all means, if you visited me, let me know, and let me know what you think of the recipe. Take care. Oh, and Chef Evey says take care as well. Bye-bye now.